Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
I'd like to call this meeting to order at 4:04 p.m. So first order item is roll call. Lorraine, could you do roll call for us?
Absolutely. Olivia Perry. Is she on Zoom?
They said that she wasn't on.
Oh, she wasn't? No. Okay. Brian Schimming. Brian McKee.
Here.
Godwin. Jenny Sanders.
Here.
Marshall Mertens.
Here.
Mallory Gorman. Nate Farmer. Gabriella Gerhardt.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Short on a quorum. Yeah, we need to have 5.
Oh, that's right.
If Olivia joins, we'll have a quorum.
I'll make a motion to move the Madison Area Community Land Trust item above the approval of the minutes.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Well, since we don't have, we can't really vote on approval of the minutes, but do we have any changes to the minutes?
Oh, I just moved it above the draft minutes.
Oh, you moved it above the draft minutes. Oh, okay. I thought you moved it above the resolution ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay. If Olivia could get started, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you. And the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you.
So I just wanted to
Thank you for.
Olivia, just really quickly, I just wanted to introduce her. So Olivia Williams is with the Madison Area Community Land Trust. She is the CEO, and she has projects already started in Madison. So she'll be providing a presentation of an overview of her organization and the projects that she's worked on. Go ahead, Olivia.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you again for having me here, and yeah, I'll give an overview of Madison Area Community Land Trust and ways we could partner in Fitchburg. So I want to first introduce the concept of community land trusts in general, and then I'll talk more about our program in Dane County. So the first community land trust came out of the civil rights movement in rural Georgia outside of Albany in the late 60s, early 70s. So this was a movement to preserve land ownership for African Americans in the rural South who were losing land. And this community was both for agriculture and for farmers, kind of growers co-op and sellers co-op, as well as housing and home ownership. And Charles and Shirley Sherrod and Senator John Lewis were all involved in the founding of this first community land trust. And their kind of model and story really inspired growth and proliferation of this model over the last several decades across the United States and then across the globe as well. So in the United States, there are over 300 community land trusts, and this number is growing really quickly as there's been increasing interest from a lot of municipalities and states across the United States. So this number has actually grown 40% since 2018. We are the oldest and largest community land trust in Wisconsin. There are now 5 incorporated community land trusts in Wisconsin. Yeah, we're the oldest. So most community land trusts now, kind of in recent years, have been really focused on home ownership and addressing this gap, the affordability gap between what low and moderate income buyers can afford and what today's homes cost. The model can be used in a lot of different environments, both environments where home prices are appreciating a lot and in places where prices have actually gone down. So, here in a place like Madison, we're really trying to keep homes affordable long-term and in place so that working class people can still afford to buy a home in our communities. So this shows some data of the ratio of average home cost to annual incomes in the United States. There's this really interesting website on the Joint Center for Housing Studies website showing kind of a map of many counties across the United States and these ratios. And you can also look at it through time. So you can see when we were founded or incorporated in 1990, the average home cost was 2.5 times the annual income in Dane County. But now, or the most recent data here is from 2022, the average home costs 5 times the annual income. So we've already seen that ratio double since our organization was founded. So how do we do it? What's the model? First, we take an initial affordability investment, which often is public dollars. It can also be private philanthropy. And we develop a home, sometimes new construction, sometimes rehab, kind of depending on what's around. But we take that money, invest it into a home. We make that home affordable to a low-income buyer who purchases just the home and not the land. And they're able to access Fannie and Freddie mortgages, the typical 30-year fixed-rate mortgage for that home. The community land trust then owns the land and supports the homeowners long-term. And we have a ground lease with those buyers that has a resale formula in it to keep the home affordable for all future buyers. And we also require that they sell to a low-income family. And we do income verification at each home sale. So that initial investment stays with the land and it multiplies in impact over time as the homes resell and we serve many buyers over the life of a home. So we really think of ourselves as somewhere between rental housing and market rate home ownership on the housing continuum. So it's not exactly the same as owning a market rate home or a home you can sell at market value because there is a resale formula that keeps the home affordable. And it's also a really great alternative to renting for people who have trouble accessing the regular home ownership market. And this graph shows how that initial dollar investment can multiply over time. So we take a one-time subsidy, which is here represented by the pink box. And when that home resells, represented by the gray graphs there, that resale price keeps the home affordable. It increases modestly over time, while the market price of a home goes up more quickly. So if we just had a one-time affordable home, we would lose that subsidy and need maybe double that amount or more than the initial amount to make a home affordable for the next family. Or if we had a recapture program, we would still need to add more each time to that home subsidy anytime a new buyer came into the program. But with the community land trust, it's like the earlier we can get a home into the program, the more impact it will have, and the more affordably we can, create that impact over time, if that makes sense. So the Madison Area Community Land Trust, we were incorporated in 1990, though we got 501c3 status in 91, so we were founded right on that cusp. We cover the entire Dane County area in terms of our kind of bylaws and our service area. However, so far, all of our homes are in the city of Madison based on kind of funding availability. But as I'll talk about later, that is shifting a bit. So we're looking to expand outside of the city of Madison. We have 62 homes that are permanently affordable in the land trust, and those are represented on the graph here. So some of those are scatter site, where we have developed one home at a time across the city, and other homes are more part of a larger development. So we've done it multiple ways, just based on kind of resources and opportunities over time. So with those 62 homes, we've had quite a few resales of the homes. So we've served 123 low-income families with those 62 homes, which means that that initial investment has already doubled its impact over time in our land trust. And another interesting thing about community land trusts is we always have residents involved in our governance. So our residents of our homes comprise at least a third of our board at all times. And we also have a stewardship committee for homeowners to participate in if they choose. And, we just see it as really important to keep people involved in policies that impact them or future buyers in their situation. It's also not a requirement that they be involved, but we do see a lot of participation. And then just in general, we serve families with household incomes lately between $43,000 and $75,000. So we're reaching as low as 30% of the county median income or area median income, and up to 80%, kind of depending on funding. And then on average, our land trust sales price is $100,000 below appraised value. So we're able to lower that purchase price, and our homeowners can also access available down payment assistance as well. These are just images of some of the homes we've developed. So these include some sort of twin homes that are attached, as well as single family. We've also in the past done some condos, kind of in the early 2000s, that were more like townhome style. And we've done new construction as well as acquisition rehab of existing homes. So as I mentioned, we now have some opportunities from Dane County for funding more of our homes across Dane County. We were actually, the community land trust model was one of the strategies named in the regional housing strategy. And so the Dane County budget for this year includes $2 million for our organization to create permanently affordable homes. That funding is specifically for families with incomes below 50% area median income, which is exciting because our mission is really to serve the lowest incomes possible. So it's exciting to have, an opportunity to really go as deeply affordable as we can. $1 million of this funding can be used inside the city of Madison, and $1 million has to be used outside the city of Madison. So we're exploring opportunities now to dedicate that funding. So a little bit more about us. The way our resale formula works is the person, when they decide to sell their home, they, on the left hand side here, they can sell it for their initial purchase price plus 1% simple interest per year, plus 100% of the value of qualified capital improvements. I won't go too deep into that part, but we do have a policy to support people in capital improvements of their home, like a new roof or, kitchen remodel or new flooring and things like that. So we can add credit to their sale price based on costs associated with those improvements. So that kind of incentivizes upkeep of the home over time. So on the right-hand side, you see sample home using this resale price, and at the bottom you see how that plays out over time. So we have homes this year in Madison selling for $235, and that means that when the person wants to sell their house, they can increase they can sell it for $235 plus $2,350 per year, plus any value from qualified capital improvements. So at the bottom, you kind of see after 5 years, that home is $246,750, and so on. So that's how our resale formula works. This is a typical resale formula for community land trusts, though they do vary a little bit, kind of depending on the organization. But this is one way we've found it's kind of a solid way through recession or booms to give a consistent kind of price and formula so people know what they're getting and they know what they're getting into. And then it also allows for, if there is any deferred maintenance, MACLTs sometimes can buy back a home and replace a roof and then still sell it below to a low-income buyer, kind of below market price, and afford to do so. So that's how we came up with that. So some of the benefits to homeowners in the Community Land Trust program, like all kind of homeowners, they get stable monthly housing costs and predictable and, a fixed rate mortgage. They get to pay into their home equity, which later, if they want to, they can take out for starting a business or paying tuition or buying a market rate home or those kinds of things. Like every kind of homeowner, they get autonomy over their home. They can paint the walls or do home improvement projects or, make it their own. In the land trust, they also have post-purchase support services offered. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but that is one of the kind of key things about community land trusts. They also have the opportunity to pass their home to heirs. And this last point is really important, that community land trust homeowners have a 90% reduction in the foreclosure rates that we have seen over time in community land trusts compared to market rate homeowners. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of those is the post-purchase support. Another one is that they have a low kind of purchase price to begin with. And they, the community land trust reviews all mortgages. So they're, in the 2008 financial crisis, when we saw predatory lending happening, the community land trust staff would kind of get to see that and, make sure that homeowners weren't getting in over their head underwater in their mortgage. And then the public benefit of community land trusts is, again, it's an efficient use of public funds because it's an investment that stays with the land forever and really impacts future buyers as well. It has generations of place-based impact, meaning that neighborhoods can stay stable and continue to provide affordable housing kind of in place, even as a neighborhood gets more expensive over time. Provides homeownership pathways for those who might be marginalized from homeownership in general. It can be a good stepping stone into homeownership and, a way to kind of transition from rental into market rate homeownership. And it creates a supply of workforce housing so we can make sure that people who, provide services in our cities and neighborhoods can also live there. So who do we serve? Our Our mission is to provide permanently affordable homeownership opportunities to historically marginalized populations at the lowest incomes possible. In 2020, we refocused our applicant selection on an equity-based point system, and that is on our website if you're curious. So it assigns kind of points to anyone who's interested in a home for sale. We ask questions that they get to answer, and we assign points based on things like, are they a first-time home buyer? Are they a first-generation homeowner? And meaning their parents don't own a home. We also try to sell to the lowest area median income kind of family as long as they can get a mortgage. Larger families also can get more points, and those with permanent disabilities or facing a risk of displacement. So another way we make sure we're trying to reach buyers on the margins of the housing market is we also don't require rental history or background checks or volunteer requirements. They do have to be able to get a mortgage approval, and we work with lender partners I'll talk about in a minute who are experienced with first-time homeowners, and generally try to get people in as much as we can. And then buyers, since we've adopted this new kind of equity-based policy, our buyers since 2020 have been primarily female head of household, 67% female head of household, 50% families of color, and a median area median income at 46% AMI. So that has kind of increased our ability to serve people marginalized from homeownership in general. And then, so these are the requirements for anyone buying a home in our program. They have to take a HUD first-time home buyer course. These are available throughout the year from different providers, and they're required for down payment assistance. So we just add that to our requirements as well. They have to attend an orientation with us, which is just a 1-hour commitment, a time to ask questions and understand the program. If they're selected through the applicant selection criteria for a home, they would meet with an attorney to review the ground lease and any other documents associated with the sale. And that's just to make sure that people have a really good sense of what they're agreeing to and, really consenting to what's happening. And then with the Dane County funding that was in the budget this year, their gross income must be below 50% of the county median at the time of purchase. So that is on the graph here. So for a family of 4, the maximum income this year, or up until they change it for this year, will be $62,950. So we're really reaching what HUD calls very low income with these numbers here. This graphic shows our buying process. I don't need to talk through it too much, but just to share that we, once someone expresses interest through a pre-application, we individually reach out to them and we make sure, they get any referrals to credit coaching if they need that. And we make sure we're available to answer questions, and we invite them to our regular orientations. And then once a home is announced to become available, we make sure that people get a chance to tour the home. We give a few weeks until we request people to submit an intent to purchase and a mortgage pre-approval. And then that's when we start this applicant criteria selection point system process and select a buyer who then works with an attorney. We try to be there every step of the way and make sure the process is really clear for folks. So once someone's in the home, what are the requirements? One important thing for community land trusts is we do require owner occupancy for at least 8 months out of the year. by a family member of the current of like the person on the ground lease. So that just ensures that the homes aren't rented out at, you know, market rate, like without the homeowner who actually bought the home, you know, benefiting from the program. So it's not something we really require a lot of documentation about, but it is a requirement. They also, homeowners are required to pay a monthly ground lease fee of $75 a month to support administrative costs here at MACLT. We ask that they maintain homeowners insurance, and they have to work with lenders who are familiar with community land trust mortgages. So we have a page on our website listing those. I put their kind of icons here, but you know, there's a lot of local banks and credit unions we work with and have partnership with, and we're always open to more. And you know, it comes down to those lenders learning about and becoming aware of the underwriting requirements for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac around shared equity housing and forming a partnership with us. Our homeowners also are expected to notify MACLT when they're ready to sell their home, because we do have right of first refusal. And when they do, if we don't buy it, when they sell it, it has to go to a low income family at that resale formula price. I've talked about the post-purchase support that we provide a little bit. So here's a little more detail on that. Again, we provide some credit for capital improvements, home upgrades or remodels or additions. We connect people with lending partners who provide credit coaching, down payment assistance. It can also support our homeowners with refinancing. And we have a couple lenders who can provide HELOCs, home equity lines of credit as well. When a homeowner sells, sometimes we buy back the home, but if not, we can help people advertise the homes to our interest list, where we have over 250 families interested in homes from our program. We also help assist people with upkeep of their homes, which sometimes we're able to access maintenance funding to support that. Or we can also connect our homeowners with contractors, and we have a long list of local contractors who are reliable, and we know they have liability insurance and things like that. We also do educational programming multiple times a year. Sometimes that's on like winterizing your home or understanding IRA benefits and things like that. So our homeowners get access to that information. And sometimes we connect our homeowners to other social services as needed. If we, you know, understand or find out that they need additional support, we have partners, you know, across Dane County we connect people with. And we offer payment plans if people have trouble paying ground lease fees. Most of our buyers are lately have been single moms, and this is one of our buyers of the last 5 years, named Angie, and she shared part of her story with us. And she said, MACLT has made it possible for me to have a piece of the American dream that I never thought I would be able to have. I finally have peace in my home and can save money to do things like pay off my car, take a vacation, have a garden, pets in the home, and basic things that should be in reach for everyone. And that's the kind of thing that really drives us, is having that kind of housing stability and, you know, freedom that our homeowners get to have at MACLT. I'm almost done, but I wanted to briefly talk about what it could look like if we were to use Dane County funding in Fitchburg. And we could do it a variety of ways, but you know, one way that might be simple for us is acquisition rehab. So I just looked today to see what's available in Fitchburg. And so there's this ranch style home, just as an example, for sale on Fish Hatchery Road for $450,000. So if we bought a home for $450,000 and we put in $50,000 in home rehab, the total project cost would be $500,000. We could apply, just as an example, $250,000 from Dane County, and hopefully see some level of match from the municipality we're partnering with. So I just plugged in $60,000 coming from Fitchburg. And then, if we subtract that out, that gets us down to a sale price of $190,000. And then our buyers would also be able to access down payment assistance. So I plugged in a couple of the statewide down payment assistance programs to get us to a price of $172,500 as a first mortgage for our buyer. And that would get us to an affordable mortgage for a family of four, making $63,000 a year. So that would be at that 50% AMI rate. So again, this is just an example to show you kind of how our deals work, how we kind of budget for this sort of thing, and what actual numbers might look like. So, any questions?
Olivia, can you talk about the tax, like real estate taxes and how that's handled?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my understanding from the City of Madison tax assessor is that state law kind of requires that homes be taxed at their value. And so in a land trust, the value is lower than a market, what it might be at the market rate. And so we have there's a formula that the City of Madison tax assessor uses based on our resale formula. So they try to match what our sale price would be roughly. And happy to kind of share that or, talk with the assessor, because this will be something we have to deal with, municipality by municipality, I think.
Could you tell me how and where you find the people who are willing to purchase your homes from your pool of 250? And then the follow-up question, when that family is ready to sell, do they have to sell to your pool? If their potential buyer is not in your pool, do they have to then go into your pool? Just some things about how you're getting and what limits are on them.
Yeah, great question. So to answer the first question, we advertise homes in newspapers and we spread the word to nonprofit partners and kind of neighborhood-based organizations or some service organizations serving people looking to buy an affordable home. So a lot of it comes through word of, like, kind of those connections, advertising, and then also word of mouth. So we have, quite a large buyer pool for the number of homes that we're able to produce on a regular basis. And then you asked about sales and requirements for that. So when someone sells their home or wants to sell their home, if we don't buy it back, which we will only buy it back if it is in need of repair, significant repair. So if we don't, then our seller has the option to sell to any family they choose or to work with a realtor if they wish, to sell to a low-income family is the only requirement. So that some people may have someone in mind that or a family member sometimes that they're looking to sell to. And they can sell if they want to, for instance, sell to like their child or something like that. They could sell it below market, below our resale formula price if they want to. It really sets a maximum sale price. And so many sellers want to work with us to advertise their home. And in that way, and in that case, we kind of create an advertisement. We send it to our interest list of 250 potential buyers, and we post it kind of on social media and different places and try to get the word out a variety of ways. And that's how we get people interested. So many people find that a benefit, but they don't have to necessarily work through us.
A follow up on that. So I've bought your house and I've sold it to my friend, right? So my friend is not on your interest list. Do they then need to go through the steps of the initial buyers who are initially buying homes? So they are still then, in essence, tied to your organization, even though they didn't come through the list, correct?
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the kind of requirements, and we still maintain ownership of the land throughout this whole process. So they would need to sign a ground lease with us and work with an attorney and go through our orientation and a HUD first time home buyer class and have their income, we'll certify that their income is below the requirement. So for most of our homes, that's 80% AMI, but for homes funded by Dane County, that will be 50% AMI for all future buyers as well.
So they can sell to whomever they want as long as the new buyers qualify in your program, right? They have to go through the application process and all that. Just, okay.
Yeah. Correct.
I'm going to ask a add-on question to you, and I think we kind of talked about it, Olivia. Can you kind of market to Fitchburg residents? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. We would be kind of looking for your recommendations of who we should connect with, but we can definitely work with local organizations and markets in neighborhood newspapers or things like that.
Another question on capital improvements. So there are good ones and there are bad ones. Do you guys get a yay or nay as to who the contractor is, the quality of work, what they're planning on doing? I mean, of course, they have to come up with the money for the project that they want or the HELOC or however they're going to fund it, but who they hire can make a huge difference. So.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think we don't have total control of that process. We review the plans and require building permits to be pulled if that's going to be, a project that requires building permits. We don't have total control over like everything someone does with the home because they do own the home. So we don't get to pick and choose the contractors.
What's the breakdown between how often you're building a home from scratch with just buying the land and building a home versus rehabbing homes? Are you mostly doing rehabs, or is it kind of a 50-50 split, or what does that look like?
It has primarily varied across time based on available resources and kind of opportunities. So we do have a new construction project coming up in the city of Madison at the Voight Farm site because we were able to work with the master developer of this large site to get a lot where we're going to be able to build 14 homes. So that'll be our biggest new construction project for about 18 years. So there was a long period of time where we were fiscally managed by another organization. After the Great Recession, we just kind of downsized a little bit on our staffing, and that's when we did mostly one home at a time, acquisition rehab. And so it's kind of varied based on like our capacity as well as opportunities and funding. So we have a goal of expanding the number of homes in the land trust to 100 by 2030. So 100 permanently affordable homes, which would be up from 62 right now. So that's why we're doing all, whatever opportunities and resources are available based on the locality.
Do you find that either the scattered site or the new build that you're going to do, is one or the other more cost effective of using your public funds?
I would say that acquisition rehab is a little more cost effective at this time, but it can be more challenging to find homes to acquire based on how fast they're moving on the market. So it can vary, but the cost of construction is very high. And so if we're able to find a home, I would say this example I gave, it might be at the upper limit of what, we might find to be affordable, but we've been able to, some of our most successful projects in recent years have been with a friendly seller who wants to sell their home to us or to a nonprofit, and they get connected with us. And even if they sell it at market rate, if they're willing to have a 6-week timeline between the offer and closing, that just allows us to work with the funding mechanisms a little easier and get all of our agreements done with the city or county or whoever we're working with. And so that's been the best kind of in terms of cost effectiveness. It's just been working with a friendly seller.
Who goes out and finds the homes, and what's the kind of the criteria for choosing where you say this is a perfect house for us to buy and rehab for the program?
We have a staff person who kind of specializes in home maintenance, and he does these walkthroughs. So he has a checklist and kind of looks for different things that would need rehab, and he does estimates. We can check the estimates with some of our contractors, our general contractor, for example, who's working on the project in Madison. And we just try to kind of hone, like, what's our guesstimate of what this would cost to rehab and compare that with what we can sell it for. And, that's kind of how we do it. We, in general, ideally are looking mostly at sites that have city, water and sewer and electricity and things like that, as well as access to jobs or grocery stores and bus routes if possible. But those aren't necessarily a requirement for us. It's just some of the other things. If we had multiple options, we'd be prioritizing those closer to amenities.
Now, on to your current funding round. You have $1 million available outside of the city of Madison. What criteria are you looking for community partners, nonprofit partners? What are you looking at for? I mean, obviously, Madison, you probably know all the players, but outside of Madison, what are you looking for?
That's a good question. I mean, I think where possible, we're looking for matching funding of some level of match. We'll probably be using our same kind of lenders and builders and architects. We also have worked with other partner developers. We've worked with Kaba Ba, who is a for-profit developer who often works with nonprofits, and he's developing 4 homes for us right now on the in the Owl Creek neighborhood on the south, kind of west side of Madison. And so that's an example of where, we have explored, we're starting to explore a relationship with Habitat for Humanity, for example, where we can actually, sometimes we do the development, but we also can partner with others to actually develop the home, and then we find the buyer, and they can sell the land, or grant the land to us and sell the home to the new buyer, and then we'll steward the land long-term in the land trust. So that's a model we can also explore to just be able to add more homes at one time.
Anyone else have more questions? Mike?
Just one question here, Olivia. So is the land then tax exempt because it's in a trust, but is the home still taxable?
It's a little more nuanced. So the land is taxed based on our ground lease fees. So with a ground lease fee of $75 a month, they use like kind of a fixed cap rate and they calculate land value. So what happens is the land value ends up being just $18,000, which the homeowner is responsible for. They're responsible for all the property taxes. But then the home value is kind of based on that initial sale price and increasing value based on our formula. That's how it's done in the city of Madison anyway, but typically the land value is very reduced.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Well, Olivia, I have to thank you for this. It's a very interesting and I think exciting program as I look at it. So, and you've had a long term of success, hoping that maybe Fitchburg can partner with you guys. But that's up to the city. If it is possible, could you get your presentation to our Olivia, not our Olivia, to Joyce Frey, so that we can get it to the members who weren't able to be here today?
Of course.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. It was wonderful. Great questions, everyone.
Thank you again, Olivia.
Yeah, bye. I see Brian Schimming has joined, so we now have quorum. And we can move on in the agenda to approval of the minutes. Before we take a motion, are there any changes that we'd like to see?
One from me, just for the roll call. I'm missing from the list.
Oh, you're missing, okay.
Just add my name.
Okay. So do I have a motion with the change to approve the minutes of October 14th, 2024?
I'll move approval with that change.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Minutes are approved. Okay, next on our agenda is public appearances for non-agenda items. Is there someone who is not on the agenda who would like to speak? Hearing none? Oh, that would be you? Okay. But you have to come up to a microphone.
We should have formally added you to the agenda like we did at CETA.
Okay. I'm going to kill her name, Mayor.
So it's going to be short. Thank you. So I want to say thank you for your commitment to this housing committee. And I want to share that my 2025 priorities, one of them is housing. And we know we have a couple of projects in the pipeline that maybe eventually it's going to be presented to this commission. But also, I would like to revise to bring forward for discussion the concept of accessory dwelling units. I think this committee discussed this a couple of years ago, were presented to the mayor at the time of the council and it was rejected, but I am very open to have that discussion and I think it's one of the things that we need to incorporate in our zoning code. And also there are a couple of other policies that I am planning to work with the planning department and the planning commission and also with some of the councils. It's about what are the minor zoning changes that we can do in anticipation of the the zoning, because we are planning to revise the zoning code, but it's going to take a couple of 1 or maybe 2 years. But what we can do in the meantime, when we are doing that project, because I don't think that we have 2 years to wait to do some of these minor zoning changes. So this is something that I'm going to discuss with Alder Gabriela Gerhardt, so she can introduce to you in a future meeting. And also we need to, I know there are a couple of initiatives about workforce housing, what we can do to accelerate that process. And we have the $9 million, sitting in the housing, affordable housing fund. And what are those initiatives that we can also determine that can be more feasible to do in the short term? So I know that Mike is working with his team. We have discussed internally some of those initiatives, but I think I would like to see something more tangible this year coming forward. We have the Efficiency Navigators project that is moving along. But what else? That's it. So I want to tell you that it's very important for me. One of my priorities and the council is housing. I don't know how all the federal, policies going to affect housing in the short and long term. That one is very concerning, especially how it's going to affect the cost of construction material, labor, and other stuff. So that one is very concerning, the impact that it's going to have in the short and long term in our local economy. So, but I want to share that with you because I am meeting with most of the commission and committees to discuss my 2025 priorities. I am very excited that we are, working forward with some housing initiative, but I think 2025 should be the year where we can start, seeing more progress. Alongside this, as you know, we are planning to revise the comprehensive plan. The planning department is working the RFP. The idea is to be out at the end of the first quarter, along with the zoning code RFP. So those one are very important components that's going to help us to determine how we move forward in the future with land availability, because we need to be very serious about, because we don't have too many land available for future neighborhood. The other priority that I have is kind of related to housing, but more in the long term, is we are finalizing the 2 neighborhood plans, the Greenfield and the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan, and the idea is that those plans to be finalized by at the end of the first quarter, and then moving along to different commission and committees. So maybe by August, the council will be in front of the council for a final approval. So all of these things we need to, I hope it happens this in 2025. But those neighborhood plans are going to help more in the long term. But my concern is in the next 2 or 3 years. There are plenty of infill land to be developed, but sometimes the owner of those lands, they don't want to sell, or they are selling for, crazy numbers, and sometimes they are not affordable, for development. So that one are kind of like, in summary, some of my priority. I share my notes, my priority with the Common Council and the head of the department. But I hope that this committee this year we can see some tangible result. Any question, comment? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. With resolution in R25-25, approval of a contract between the City of Fitchburg and sustain for implementation of Phase 2 Project 1 of the Efficiency Navigator Program. Did everyone have a chance to? I don't quite understand what you want us to do. I mean, I looked at the contracts and it was like, okay, that's a lot of contracts.
Sure. But first off, if we could have a motion and a second.
Thank you.
And then we'll open it up for questions and discussion.
We have a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll move to approve.
Okay. A second?
I'll second.
Okay. It's open for discussion. Thank you.
And then I'll let Lorene kick it off, and then I'll kind of add in as well. Joyce has been quarterbacking this one. She's out sick today, so we'll tag team it here and hopefully answer any questions associated with it.
Essentially, this is the second phase of the project. So Sustain Dane basically looked at getting contractors. So they went to different entities to try to find qualified contractors for the project. So they did an RFP process and then obtain any kind of necessary permits for the project. Also, they did some inspections. And then once they kind of confirm those contractors, the portion of the cost of the projects. So that's kind of this second phase. So I think a big focus in this second phase is windows and also heating.
And the amount that is associated with this Phase 2 Project 1 is $72,131. In the packet, you can see kind of that estimates of work there, and they're really focused on attic insulation, air sealing, rim joist insulation, and other weatherization measures, combustion safety pre-testing, blower door testing, infrared scanning, and ventilation work. And if you go to page 32 in your packet there, it gives kind of I know there's a lot of kind of estimates in there, but it gives kind of a breakdown of the property address and then kind of the cost and kind of just a highlight overview of the work at each of those properties there. So that just kind of gives you a really good overview of what totals that $72,133. Everybody find that on there?
Yeah.
I think Scott put it up on the screen too because I had it.
There it is.
And again, as the mayor indicated, this is a really, we're excited about this program. When we launched it, we were pleasantly surprised as far as the level of interest. And this was one of our priorities in our 2019 Fitchburg Housing Plan was reinvestment in that older multifamily rental housing stock that we have in the community. And these are focused on those smaller kind of mom and pop owned properties and everything. If this continues to go well, we would probably look to, let's say, designate future resources or additional resources just because there is a need out there, in the community with these older multifamily rental properties.
Anyone have comments or questions?
Yep. Gabrielle?
How many properties is this total?
This is supposed to be for 10 buildings, 76 units, and eight different property owners. So I think some of them maybe have a couple of addresses there. You got like 209 through 211, Deer Valley, 213 to 215.
And then is there a reason why we aren't doing Project 1 and Project 2 simultaneously? Is it a Sustain Dane capacity issue? Is it?
My understanding is that it's based off of that there could be future savings and rebates because of some of the program dollars that are out there that become available. I think that they're waiting to find out if they're still going to be available. Did I answer that right, Lorene? Okay. That's my understanding, why they wanted to see if we could leverage some other resources. And this is going to be one of those where, we'll probably be coming back, again, if there's any change orders or things like that, sometimes until they get into some of the work, maybe there's additional costs or expense that weren't anticipated, and that's why we've got kind of a process put in place to evaluate if there is a change order, in the future, working with building inspection and public works on that. Joyce spent a lot of time vetting this contract, not only with Sustain Dane and Elevate Wisconsin, but through our formal processes and finance policies and working with our city attorney. So it took a lot of back and forth just to get it where it worked for them, but also worked for our processes as well. So we think we're in a good place here, working it through our systems.
And remind me, who's the kind of the quality control person that will sort of follow along with what we've contracted this company to do and sort of make sure that everything is being done?
That'll be Sustain
kind
Dane
of the
on
project management end of it. Does Sustain Dane handle that?
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
But then they'll also be working closely with our building inspection department
Yeah,
and
okay.
also public works
Yeah.
as well. Just because they have that level of expertise, as the projects are done and the projects are completed.
So if I remember the process correctly, what you're looking for from us is our approval or denial of the proposal and the contracts presented so that it can go forward to CETA and then perhaps to the Common Council?
Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm. And in the referral sheet there, it's got the, I think it goes back to the council on March 11th, if I remember right. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, so CETA will be February 27th, and then it'll go to Finance and Council because it involves dollars and resources. It goes to Finance,
Okay.
and then Council for final authorization and approval. And then they'll be able to start doing the work and working with the contractors after that date.
Okay. Well, you have another question?
Oh, may I ask why it's being referred to Board of Public Works? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, that was partially because of that change order and kind of some of those technical considerations that if there is a change order as part of the process there, that was kind of the entity to flow through. They've done some of that work for us before, Gabriella, with our TID districts too, like with the Arlo, where there's some of those project cost, public improvement items and things like that, that it's another set of eyes, just to review those for us and say these are kind of reasonable and customary, kind of things.
Okay.
So it's tapping into some of our expertise across departments.
Any more discussion or questions? Is there a motion to approve Resolution R25-25? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Can we vote on the? Told you I don't know Robert's Rules of Order. Can we have a vote? Those in favor of accepting Resolution R2525, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against? Any abstain? Motion passes to go up the chain.
Thank you. We're looking forward to keeping this moving forward and to actually get some improvements done in these buildings that'll benefit not only the property owners, but also the actual residents that live in the unit. So it's got a double benefit out there in the community.
Okay, now we're moving on to item 7 on our agenda, report from departments.
Yeah, I can go ahead and start. First, I kind of officially taken over this committee, so Joyce has kind of transferred her duties onto me. So just want to let you know that. Okay. Just want to share a little bit about some of the things that we are working on in economic development. So obviously the Efficiency Navigator program is one of the things that we're working closely with Sustain Dane. Some other things, I think at our last meeting we had, or a previous meeting, we had H&I, the rent-to-own program, to come, and they went through council, and that program did not get approved. But we also had Gorman and Company, and I think we were going to have some special meetings for that. But right now we're kind of working on vetting the program a little bit inside, and then once we kind of get those questions answered, then we'll bring it on to the committee.
Do you have a timeline for that?
What would you say?
They are submitting a kind of a draft term sheet, you would call it, kind of a higher level to us. That's going to be vetted with administration and the mayor. So probably won't be until sometime after mid-April for that. But we just had a recent meeting and conversation with them, and then they're getting us that draft that I'll be sharing with administration then.
Some additional things is I recently went to the Sunshine House in Sun Prairie. There has been some interest in the community of having a kind of a tenant resource center embedded in our community. So just kind of went there and kind of observed how they do the whole program, and it was really eye-opening. So they have a food pantry that's really well done. They have a kind of a clothing closet for social workers that see a need for students, so they'll reach out and utilize the clothes, and they're all brand new clothes, really nice. They also had the Tenant Resource Center that was there twice a week. And then also kind of some social services programs. So it was kind of like a campus. It was really nice that, and then also it was right in the community where residents live. So many of the residents were just able to walk over. So at this point, we're just kind of talking about it internally and see if that's something that we could possibly do maybe on a lower scale. But again, this is just in the infancy stages, but it was just really eye-opening that, so many residents were able to utilize these services. Also, another interesting thing was they had kind of a breakdown of how many people used it and where, what communities. And Fitchburg was also listed, and it talked about, for the food pantry, about 300 Fitchburg residents utilize their food pantry a month. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So. Another organization that we're looking at working with is the Neighborhood Law Clinic for two things. One, they have already kind of committed to providing some services for our residents kind of at our food pantry, where it's kind of like landlord mitigation. So if they're having some issues with their landlord or have some questions about rent or understanding the process, or if it's like eviction issues, they can support them with that as well. And they also have Spanish speakers, and this is a law clinic, so these are students from UW. So they'll be coming starting in the fall once a month. Also, we kind of had a conversation regarding revising some of our housing ordinances. So that's something that we possibly may look at. So again, that's something internally we'll talk about if that's something that we can partner with. And this is free of charge. So this is kind of a nice program that they do. They've done it with Madison and some other municipalities as well. Some other things.
In regards to that,
yes.
You said they were going to be visiting here or stopping by. What does that look like? Are they going to be in City Hall or in the community center?
Good question. So we had a meeting with our inspectors, and that was something that they kind of indicated that it would be really good to kind of revise some of the ordinances just because they're outdated, and we wanted to be more applicable to what we do here. We'll kind of meet next with Mike and Chad and kind of discuss further if that's something we want to do. And then if we decide, then we'll bring it to council.
Okay, and is that still the Neighborhood Law Clinic?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Gabriella, was your question about the Neighborhood Law Clinic having kind of a presence or hours at the pantry?
Yes, that too, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, what was the question regarding that?
In regards to like the, eviction housing issues for residents, how would people access that information? Is it?
Yes, so at one of the food pantries, there is like, while residents are, utilizing their services, there are supportive groups they have tables there, and they will provide a table that residents can just come and ask those questions.
So that would be like at Badger Prairie, or are they present at all the food banks, or just?
Just one. One of them they decided, but possibly we can grow it to other groups as well. But we just kind of chose one of them, the Boys and Girls Club, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. All Right. Some other things, is the housing plan, which is one of the biggest things that I'm working on. So I'm in the process of starting the RFP, so kind of just revising that information so that we can start that process. So definitely I could utilize any feedback from this committee, or if there's things that, you noticed from the 2019 plan that you would like to see in this plan, please send those things to me. Maybe I would say maybe by Friday of next week, just because I am trying to finalize this plan, and my goal is to start this process by the end of February. So the sooner the better. And I think those are all the things that I'm working on.
That sounds like a lot. Okay. So do you have something to say, Mike?
I'll continue on with a few more reports for you. Okay.
Wow.
So Lorraine's been very busy, focused on a whole bunch of things. As the mayor indicated, as far as priorities and tangible items there, the Fitchburg Housing Plan update is one of those. We did the first plan in 2019. That was our initial plan. We made a lot of good progress on those priorities and recommendations in that plan, but this is a chance for us to kind of look forward the next 5 years, especially with some of the data from the Dane County Regional Housing Strategy, some of the things done by the realtors, builders, and other organizations at the state level there. So if you could really kind of look at our 2019 plan, and in the context of some of the new information and kind of evolving market conditions and things like that, if there's other suggestions, ideas of things we should be thinking about looking to incorporate, we'll be looking to issue that RFP and then contract with a firm to kind of lead us through that process. And I think one of the things that Lorene has been focusing on is the possibility of how do we do more kind of neighborhood engagement as part of that process. In the first plan, we had a great steering committee, a lot of representatives from a whole bunch of different constituencies, but trying to reach out even further to get the kind of the resident voice in the community. And we're hoping to collaborate with our colleagues from H&I as far as utilizing their network to reach various constituencies throughout Fitchburg. So that'll be one element of it, and we're looking to maybe partner with an organization to provide some dollars that would help cover that kind of community engagement process as part of that. We'll be bringing forward we don't have to bring forward a budget amendment. We have to bring just a memo forward with the dollars. We have dollars both in the Affordable Housing Fund and then the Housing Fund that would cover it. We're estimating it'll probably be in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $60,000 for the update to the plan. So stay tuned for that as Lorene continues to bring that information forward. Then just a couple of other updates for you. The neighborhood plans that the mayor referenced, hopefully winding its way through for council consideration in August. I was in a meeting earlier today with my colleague, Deanna Schmidt, our planning director. We're thinking they'll wind their way through to committees like Housing and CETA approximately kind of May, give or take a month there. So as soon as we've got that, we'll make sure that it's one of the agenda items and everything. This is both for the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood and then also for the Greenfield. But those, as the mayor indicated, are very important as far as that availability of land for a whole host of development that we need here in the city of Fitchburg. So we'd encourage you to be engaged in that process. And then some of the other conversations we're having in and out of various meetings, we're still continuing to meet with workforce and affordable housing developers, both all age, family, but also senior housing as well. So we've been meeting with multiple entities. A couple of them, maybe you might see some minor comp plan amendments that surface here at the February 18th deadline associated with those projects there. So don't want to say much yet until maybe they've submitted something and they're kind of in the queue, but there are multiple ones in the pipeline as well that we've been having conversations with, both senior and family at different areas around the city. And then with that, one of the things that we're working on as staff, and one thing that would be really helpful for us as staff, we all know we've got the $9.5 million in the housing fund there, and how do we deploy those resources? I think one thing we're struggling with a little bit is sometimes we're kind of getting requests or having meetings on specific projects, development projects or development entities. And one thing that would really be helpful for us as staff is to help us look at it from a program process standpoint there, because we have to look at it through the lens of making sure that it's available to everybody, as far as maybe some dollars, but then also what is that kind of evaluation criteria and processes as part of that. So to help lead us in that direction, one of the things we're working on, and we're talking to administration and the mayor about this, and the mayor kind of alluded to it earlier, is hopefully when we get together in April, there will be kind of a memo on kind of an approach and maybe categories of kind of funding buckets of how we would deploy some of those resources there of the 9.5. That would really be helpful for us if we could kind of say, hey, X amount would go towards this kind of program, let's say. So
like setting parameters to the
right now it would be kind of the program categories. Okay. So would it be for, let's say, land bank, down payment assistance? We already have efficiency navigator as one bucket there, but that would be helpful for us. And then hopefully it would lead to not only kind of identifying maybe how much we would kind of designate for that. And we've been talking to our city finance director on how we follow our process here internally. And then, now I lost my train of thought. So we would have the buckets of categories, and then we would go to your point, Jenny, of once we say, hey, maybe X amount of dollars for this specific purpose, to define a little bit more of the criteria and the parameters. Okay, so would there be like a matching fund, for a certain thing, just like Olivia mentioned with the Community Area Land Trust, how we leverage our dollars and things like that. Because I think one thing from a staff perspective, 9.5 seems like a lot of money, but once we start working on some of these projects, we will expend dollars very quickly, and we do not have a source to replenish those funds in the near term, here for a while. So we're trying to figure out how do we leverage dollars, how do we extend and expand the impact of those dollars, and hopefully we'll have some more updates regarding some other programs that we've been having conversations with at our next meeting. But first I got to kind of vet that. We're working on it together here, and then take it through administration and mayor, and then, ideally, that'll be part of our discussion in April. And that'll provide us more guidance, help give staff here more of that program process kind of platform that we really need. Because right now, sometimes we feel we're a little bit in a pinball game, and we're kind of bouncing off one project or priority, kind of depending on the day or who we've talked to, and it would just be helpful to just kind of step back. But we need to do that efficiently, because we have multiple conversations and projects kind of in the pipeline. So we're trying to get out front of that. So it's not just a one-off that then when somebody else calls us, we're saying, well, we kind of did it here because, and we'd rather have that program and process more in place so we can say, this is how it fits in. And those buckets that I'm talking about, that we've talked about internally here, all tie back to that 2019 Fitchburg Housing Plan and the priorities in there. So there's a direct connection back to that. And we also think that those buckets will be continuing priorities even as we update the next housing plan. Okay, then, make sure I got my notes here. Just on a few housing projects that are out there for you. Over in Jamestown, I'm on the west side of the city now, Jamestown Quarry, which is going to be the redevelopment on the quarry across from Super Target. As you might know, there's going to be 4 outlots along McKee Road that are going to be commercial uses: Chase Bank, Chick-fil-A, Crew Car Wash, and a McDonald's there. But then as the road Fitcherona veers to the north and to the east, Corey Frank, the gentleman that does the Texas Wrap apartment buildings with the parking in the middle and you wrap the units around it, he did one in Terravessa. You'll probably see work beginning this spring on a Texas Wrap building. They're a market rate, I think approximately about 283 units over there. So we're excited to see that project move forward, not only from a housing standpoint, but from a reclamation of the quarry standpoint as well. So that's really good for us. The other thing is Terravessa. Now I'm on the east side. That's moving forward with phase 4. So again, continued really good absorption there with housing units, not only single family, but some of those smaller kind of multifamily units, both duplex and some of the townhome units over there. So bringing us some much needed housing inventory, as well as high field reserve that Viridian is doing over there in the Oregon School District. The other thing that we should start to see in spring, summer of this year is, we had connected Phil Sveum, who is the master developer of Terra Vesa, to the Holmes Bobberschmidt family on the west side. This is all the vacant land north of what Avante has as you come off the Lacey Road interchange. They've made really good progress in the last 8 months, kind of working collectively together. So 2 things that'll happen there. One is they're working on an Article 3 update. That area falls under our smart code zoning, just like Terra Vesa on the east side. But with Phil's expertise and kind of his technical team, they're doing some kind of technical changes that straighten out some of the roads and things like that to make some better developable parcels and lots over there. But the other thing that'll happen is south of where Central Park Place veers to the northwest, there's kind of a lot that's detached from the Holmes Bobberschmidt's main real estate holdings there. And Corey Frank is going to be bringing forward, he can't fit a Texas wrap there, but he's going to be doing a building of about 110 units on that lot. So that'll start to open up that property. And the reason that that's important, as we all know, is there's a lot of land over there, and we would like to see, development moving forward, because the most commonly asked question I get is, when is the grocery store coming? And I keep telling people we need to fill in the trade ring, and that'll happen organically over there. So good things happening there. And then the other project to watch for in Uptown is we're having conversations, making good progress with UW Health for their rehabilitation hospital, which would be right at the roundabout of East Sherrill, Lacey Road, and then Green Market. They're buying some additional acreage from Avante over there, and they want to be in the ground this summer. And this will be a 40-bed physical rehabilitation hospital, similar to the one that they've done out at the American Center on the east side. And there'll be a joint venture then with UW Health, Meritor Unity Point, Life Point, and then there's an entity called Sanders Trust that actually owns the real estate. So we've been working with all those partners and entities. They were on our development team meeting last week, Tuesday, and we've got kind of a punch list of who needs to do what to get them in the ground in the summer of 2025. So we're anxious to see that project going forward. To the south of that, Hartung Fields. If you haven't been over there recently, Sain, Lacey, and Haight Farm Road on the Hartung property. Hartung Fields, the first of 3 buildings, is well under construction. I think they're going to be taking occupancy of that one later in the fall. And then that's the first of 3 buildings. But then you also see the townhomes being built there, 51 townhome units that are under construction or planned for that area. So bringing us some much needed additional housing stock. Those townhomes will be rental over there on Hartung Fields. Then the other one, just north, so east of the roundabout, just north of Lacey Road, Sean O'Brien from North Point Development, who did the Limerick over there, the senior housing development, and then the townhome project that was a WIDA LIHTC deal, is going to be bringing another 20-some kind of townhome and multifamily units on the east side of the roundabout, north of Lacey Road. That one has a TIF request into us to help with that. It would be a LIHTC deal, and he's already got an allocation from the Federal Home Loan Bank. And so we just got that information from Ellers. We're vetting that internally. Question for us is, would we run that through TID number 14 because we have an open tax increment district there, or would we look to tap into the TID for Housing Dollar Fund that we have? So we're having those conversations right now among city staff at this point in time. But that'll bring us some more affordable housing. And I think that covers everything that I had on my list, unless you have any. Oh, one last thing I'll mention is tomorrow on the development team meeting, another project that we get a lot of questions about is Bowman Plaza up on North Fish Hatchery Road. So we have Ned Hoyt on the development team meeting tomorrow regarding that project and everything. But we're hoping that that will start to proceed sometime later this year. Timetable yet to be determined. Right now, that one is projected to be a 5/2, 5 floors of apartments, 9,500 square feet of commercial that they'll bring back, and then it takes 2 floors of kind of structured underground parking to accommodate that. And then there'll be a shared parking arrangement and easement with the church on the north side of that property as well. So we're anxious to see that one come forward. We've been excited about that one. It will really kind of set kind of a development scale and parameter on the west side of Fish Hatchery Road up there. So a lot of stuff still percolating out there.
And I forgot one other thing, and that's the developers forum. Yeah. So the mayor has asked that we have a developers forum. So the time frame for this is around May. So we are applying for some funds to kind of offset some of those costs, but definitely from this committee, any kind of ideas, because we're kind of still in the infancy stages, but definitely we'll be inviting any kind of developers, but then also some on the planning side, any builders, anyone that's involved in housing. And our idea is to kind of have different forums, you know, kind of depending on what area you work on. So we still haven't determined a place yet, but again, any ideas, please send them on.
Just piggyback on that, that would be a kind of a facilitated event with some a third-party kind of entities helping to facilitate that, not only forum, but kind of the questions, conversations, and activities associated with that.
Is that open to the public? Yeah.
Have we heard it all? There's a lot.
We think so.
There's a lot happening. I can hardly write that fast. And then mentally finding the places in my head. And it's like, oh, just trick. Oh, this circle, that circle. Oh, okay. So next on the agenda is announcements. And I have April 14th, 2024 on the agenda. I assume that's our next meeting? Or do we have any idea why it's on there? April 14th of 2024? Oh, that can't be our next meeting. That's got to be just a typo left over. Any other announcements?
I think it's supposed to be 2025. The year is wrong, but that's the next.
Our next meeting,
yes.
April 14th, 2025? Okay.
Yes.
We'll change that. Anything else? If not, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We're adjourned.